They think you're quiet because you have nothing to say. They think you walk away because you're scared. They think your silence means surrender. They have no idea. They don't know what it's like to be calm because you've already seen hell and came back colder. They don't know what it was like to bite your tongue not because you're weak, but because you're calculating. While they run their mouths, you're studying patterns. While they chase attention, you're mastering timing. While they crave validation, you're sharpening invisibility. And one day when they least expect it, they'll learn why calm men are feared. Because the calmest man in the room isn't harmless. He's focused, he's patient, he's dangerous. His silence isn't peace, it's precision waiting for purpose. Every second he says nothing, he's loading the chamber of his next move. This isn't about ego, it's about control. It's about being the storm that chooses when to break. Watch this till the end, and you'll understand how to become that man. The man who doesn't need to roar to be remembered. The man whose silence shapes worlds. The man everyone underestimates, until it's too late. You walk into a room, you say nothing, but somehow, everyone notices. They feel something they can't explain, an energy, a weight, a silence that cuts through all the noise. That's power, the kind that doesn't announce itself. But here's the problem. The modern world fears what it cannot read. So when a man chooses silence, they call him cold. When he chooses stillness, they call him weak. When he refuses to react, they call him indifferent. They don't realize restraint is not weakness, it's control. And control terrifies people who have none. Most men today chase noise. They think power is in volume. They think dominance is in aggression. They think winning means being seen. But the truth? The loudest man in the room is usually the most insecure. He has to prove what a calm man already knows. Real power has no urge to explain itself. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't seek applause. It just is. Think about it. The lion doesn't roar to prove he's the king. He walks slowly because nothing around him is worth rushing for. Predators move in silence. Prey make noise. In every workplace, you'll see this play out. There's the loud one always talking, always performing, and there's the quiet one observing, thinking, watching patterns. When the storm comes, it's not the loud one who survives. It's the one who saw it coming before anyone else did. The quiet man isn't sleeping. He's studying. He's calculating. He's building a map in his head of every weakness in the room. He knows who hides behind charm. He knows who folds under pressure. He knows who talks because silence scares them. He doesn't fight every battle. He picks one and ends it cleanly. People mistake that calmness for kindness. They think you won't fight back. They think you don't have claws. But what they don't understand is you've fought bigger battles alone, in silence, in your head. You've burned and rebuilt yourself so many times, their small games can't touch you. You've been betrayed before. You've been underestimated before. You've been broken, but you learned how to rebuild in the dark. So now, when someone tries to provoke you, you smile. Because you know what they don't. If you wanted to, you could destroy everything they stand on. You just choose not to. That's not weakness. That's discipline. That's restraint forged by fire. Here's the thing. Weak men mistake peace for surrender. But a strong man knows peace is a weapon. It's bait. It's camouflage. You don't announce the storm before it hits. You let them think the skies are clear. Because when it's time, your silence will sound louder than their noise ever could. This is why the calm man is feared. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't warn. He just acts, and when he does, it's already too late. You've seen this in life too. The coworker who keeps provoking you until you finally show him what silence was protecting. The friend who mistook your patience for permission and then learned what boundaries feel like. The partner who thought your calm meant indifference until they realized it meant emotional control. Every time you hold back, you're gathering energy. Every time you stay quiet, you're studying the field. Every time you don't react, you're sharpening your blade. When you finally move, it's not random. It's precision, calculated, surgical. That's the beauty of controlled power. It doesn't rush. It waits. It observes. It chooses the right second, then strikes so cleanly the world calls it destiny. But society hates men like that. Because you can't be manipulated if you don't react. You can't be controlled if you don't crave approval. You can't be broken if you're not emotionally predictable. That's why they call calm men emotionally unavailable. They say you're cold, detached, distant. What they really mean is, they can't find your weakness. They can't access the switch that controls you. That's the real reason they hate your calm. It's not arrogance, it's freedom. Freedom from validation. Freedom from the need to be understood. Freedom from chaos. And that freedom, it threatens them. Let's take an example. Most people forget Emperor Ashoka before enlightenment. Before becoming the calm spiritual ruler India remembers, he was feared across kingdoms. He didn't start as peaceful. He started as relentless. He burned everything in his path until he realized real control was mastering himself. That transformation terrified his enemies more than his armies ever did. Because how do you fight a man who has conquered his own rage? You can't. That's what calm power is: psychological warfare. It's when you don't need to raise your voice to dominate a room, you just exist and presence does the rest. And yet, here's the trap. Men today are taught to always prove themselves, to flex, to respond, to defend their worth at every turn. They're told silence is weakness. That composure means you've lost. But that's exactly what makes most men slaves to reaction. You react, they win. You explain, they feed on it. You defend, they own your peace. They bait you into the arena where they can control you. And while you fight shadows, they watch you burn your energy. A calm man doesn't enter that arena. He lets fools fight while he studies the terrain. Because when it's time to act, he doesn't swing, he dismantles. The greatest danger of power isn't losing it. It's using it on the wrong things. You can destroy someone, but what does that prove? Nothing. Control means knowing you can and still choosing not to. It's the quiet smile that says, I could end this if I wanted. That's what gets remembered. That's what makes people afraid to test you again. So here's the truth. Being humble isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's bait that keeps peace in motion and chaos contained. When you walk into a room and say nothing, remember silence isn't absence. It's pressure. It's tension. It's an invisible hand on the throat of everyone who underestimates you. Stay calm, but never harmless. That's the balance men have forgotten, and that's where the power hides. There's a certain kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't move, doesn't even blink. It just exists. And in its presence, everything else rearranges itself. That's the power of psychological warfare. The kind used by calm men who have nothing left to prove. You've seen it before in boardrooms, in bars, in family dinners, in fights that never had to start. One man burns his energy trying to dominate the air. The other? He lets silence do it for him. Here's the secret most people never learn. The human mind cannot stand silence. We're wired to fill it with words, with excuses, with explanations. So when you don't react, you're not being passive. You're creating pressure. Your calm becomes a mirror, and people see themselves in it. Their guilt, their insecurity, their weakness. That's why silence unsettles them. They can't control what they can't predict. That's the essence of psychological warfare, making people reveal themselves while you say nothing. Look at the best negotiators in history. They understood one rule. The first to speak loses. Because silence makes the other person expose their intentions. It forces them to keep talking, to fill the space with information they didn't plan to give away. You can use that everywhere. In an argument with your partner, in a meeting with your boss, in a confrontation where someone wants to pull you into chaos. Hold your silence. Watch. Count the seconds. You'll see them start to crumble. Their voice will speed up. Their body will shift. Their words will start to contradict. Because silence breaks rhythm, and whoever controls rhythm controls reality. Body language is another battlefield most people ignore. You can tell a man's entire story by how he stands. Confidence doesn't need motion. The calm man keeps his posture relaxed, eyes steady, chin level. He doesn't look away when spoken to, he looks through. He doesn't fidget because he's not waiting for permission to exist. He doesn't dominate space, he owns it quietly. It's the same reason predators in nature move slowly. Every small motion is intentional. Fast movement is survival. Stillness is control. When you walk into a room and you re-still while everyone else moves, you flip the hierarchy instantly. They may not realize why, but their nervous systems do. Instinctively, people follow stillness because stillness signals confidence, and confidence signals safety or danger. It depends on who's looking. Let's take a real example. A man named Mitsuo Yoshida, a Japanese diplomat during tense Cold War negotiations, was known for his unnerving silence. He'd let other delegates argue, yell, posture for hours. He'd just sit there, nodding slowly, sipping tea. When he finally spoke one line, short, calm, the entire table would fall quiet. He never competed for attention. He waited for silence to want him. That's psychological warfare. He weaponized patience. But this doesn't just apply to politics or power. It works in daily life. A colleague trying to provoke you in front of others, pause, look him in the eye, then smile slightly. Say nothing. He'll start to drown in his own noise. A partner accusing you unjustly, don't argue immediately. Let her words hang in the air. Silence makes lies feel heavier. A friend trying to test your limits, don't explain your boundaries. Enforce them once, then stop talking. Every reaction is a transfer of energy, and energy is currency. A calm man spends his energy like a sniper spends bullets, rarely, precisely, never emotionally. Here's what most people never realize. You can dominate people without ever raising your voice. Control isn't about command. It's about presence. A room naturally aligns itself to whoever has the slowest heartbeat. Because stillness radiates authority, and that's why calm men often look intimidating, even when they mean no harm. It's not their face. It's not their words. It's their composure. They've seen enough storms not to flinch at thunder. There's an old story about an African king who trained his warriors not in swordsmanship, but in composure. He'd release lions into the training field. The rule was simple: if you ran, you were unfit. If you stayed still, the lion would walk past. Because even beasts sense fear. The man who doesn't move wins. That's psychology in motion. That's what stillness does. It tells the world you fear nothing. In the modern world, you use this every day. When chaos hits, your family looks at you. When the company's failing, your team looks at you. When your friends panic, they look at you. If your eyes are calm, they believe. If your breath is steady, they follow. If your energy doesn't break, neither do they. That's invisible leadership. That's dominance without words. But be careful. Calmness without backbone becomes passivity. This isn't about silence born from fear. It's silence born from choice. A dangerous man's silence is different from a weak man's silence. The weak man stays quiet because he's unsure. The dangerous man stays quiet because he's certain. He doesn't need to win every argument. He's playing a bigger game: reputation, control, psychological edge. And once people sense that, they adjust themselves around him. They speak softer. They tread lighter. They choose words carefully. Not because he demanded respect, but because his very energy commands it. That's the art of psychological warfare. Winning without fighting, controlling without commanding, leading without speaking. A calm man bends reality through presence alone, because power doesn't shout. Power whispers, and the world leans in to listen. It starts in the smallest moments, the moments no one sees. The mornings when you wake up heavy but get up anyway. The nights when your thoughts scream but you sit through the noise. The arguments you could win but choose not to. That's where the transformation begins. Because calm isn't born, it's built. Brick by brick, choice by choice, pain by pain. You don't become a man of controlled power by accident. You forge it in silence, through restraint, through repetition. Here's the first truth. Discipline is your foundation. Without discipline, you're a slave to impulse. And a man ruled by impulse can never rule his life. Discipline is what turns emotion into action, and action into identity. It's waking up at the same time when your body begs for sleep. It's training when no one is watching. It's keeping your word when no one will know if you break it. Every time you honor a small promise to yourself, your mind begins to trust you. And when your mind trusts you, your energy becomes unshakable. That's why disciplined men walk differently. They move with a quiet confidence, not from arrogance, but from self-certainty. Their body knows their mind will not betray them. Then comes the second layer, emotional control. Most men believe emotions make them weak. They don't. Uncontrolled emotions do. Anger is energy. Fear is information. Sadness is reflection. Every emotion is fuel if you learn how to burn it right. You don't suppress emotion, you study it. You ask, why am I angry? What's being threatened here? You track the pattern until you find the trigger. Then you disarm it. That's how warriors trained for centuries. Not to eliminate fear, but to understand it so completely that fear became an ally. Think of Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated samurai who wrote the Book of Five Rings. He fought over 60 duels, but most ended before swords clashed. He mastered presence so deeply that opponents lost the battle in their minds before it began. That's what happens when your emotions obey you instead of control you. The third layer, rituals. Rituals are anchors in a chaotic world. Without them, you drift. Every man who commands silence has a ritual that keeps him centered. For some, it's physical training, lifting, running, pushing the body until the mind quiets. For others, it's journaling, meditation, or solitary walks. The form doesn't matter. The consistency does. Because rituals are how you remind your mind who is in charge. You're not at the mercy of moods, deadlines, or opinions. You create your own gravity. That's what people feel when you walk in gravity. Your mind isn't scattered. Your energy isn't leaking. Your presence says one thing: I belong here. Next is detachment. Not emotional coldness, but emotional clarity. You stop trying to control outcomes. You stop chasing validation. You stop taking things personally. When someone insults you, you observe. When life tests you, you adapt. When people leave, you let them. Because you understand control isn't about holding tighter, it's about knowing what to release. Detachment is what allows calm to survive in chaos. You stop reacting to the world and start responding to it. Imagine a chess grandmaster. While his opponent sweats, fidgets, curses the game, he just sits silent, scanning the board. He knows something the other man doesn't. Panic destroys vision. And vision is everything. You don't fight for control. You are control. Then comes aura. Aura is the residue of all your inner work. You can't fake it. You can't copy it. It's carved through years of consistent discipline and self-respect. A powerful man's aura is magnetic because it's rare. It's the quiet mix of boundaries, focus, and presence. He doesn't chase attention, it finds him. He doesn't demand respect, it arrives before he speaks. How do you build that aura? By eliminating everything that leaks your energy. Stop gossiping. Stop explaining. Stop chasing people who show no effort. Stop arguing with fools. You build aura by subtraction, not addition. Every no you say adds a layer to your silence. Every time you walk away instead of fight meaningless battles, your power concentrates. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you become heavier, not physically, but energetically. That's why calm men feel like mountains. They move slow. They speak little. And when they finally do, the world listens. Finally, the mindset shift. You stop living to prove. You start living to express. You stop asking, do they respect me? You start asking, do I respect myself? Because the truth is, a man who respects himself is impossible to control. And that's what true power is: internal sovereignty. You no longer chase validation, love, or recognition. You become validation. Your very presence reminds others what control looks like. And when chaos enters the room, you don't join it. You anchor it. You slow the rhythm. You reclaim the tempo. That's what it means to command without speaking. Here's how it looks in real life. You walk into a meeting where everyone's arguing, you don't interrupt. You sit, listen, and when you finally speak, you summarize the truth in one sentence. Silence follows. Respect follows. Your partner starts an emotional storm, you don't match her energy. You stay grounded. She calms down because your presence becomes the emotional thermostat. A friend betrays you, you don't chase, don't react, don't rant. You disappear. And your absence speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. That's command. That's authority. That's what every man secretly wants, but few will ever build. Building calm dominance isn't about pretending to be emotionless. It's about mastering emotion so deeply that no one can use yours against you. It's about becoming the man who could ruin everything but doesn't need to. Because he already owns the one battlefield that matters himself. Here's the truth no one says out loud: the world doesn't move because of the loud, it moves because of the steady. Civilizations are built by the men who can hold their ground while everyone else loses theirs. That's mastery. Not control over others, but influence so deep that the world rearranges itself around your presence. People think power is about domination. It isn't. It's about gravitational pull. You don't chase, you attract. You don't argue, you align. You don't demand, you draw. Every system from politics to business to relationships bows to gravity. And gravity is just consistency, focus, and silence over time. That's why calm men end up leading even when they never ask to. Their steadiness becomes a compass in chaos. Look at any major shift in history: the loud are remembered, but the quiet changed the course. The scientist who refused fame but altered how the world sees reality. The strategist who stayed in the shadows but ended wars through patience. The founder who built in silence for a decade before the world called him a genius overnight. These men didn't shout their power. They embodied it. That's the essence of mastery, when your very existence becomes instruction. At the highest level, calm dominance becomes leadership without title. You walk into a crisis and suddenly people look to you without words exchanged. Why? Because energy recognizes hierarchy faster than logic does. In groups, nervous systems sync. When your pulse stays slow, others follow. When you breathe evenly, the room breathes with you. You don't command respect. Your physiology does. That's why leaders who panic destroy nations, and leaders who stay grounded even when burning hold them together. Think about the men who rebuilt after chaos. Not the ones who shouted on podiums, but the ones who worked quietly, rebuilding stone by stone while others mourned. The engineers after disasters, the commanders who chose strategy over revenge, the fathers who lost everything and still showed up the next day for their families. They didn't need followers. They became examples. That's the silent power that shapes the world. Not through fear, but through unshakable presence. Mastery doesn't make you untouchable. It makes you unbreakable. People will still test you. Systems will still try to crush you. Fate will still pull you into storms. But when your roots run deep, no storm can move you. You bend. You don't break. And every time the storm passes, you're still standing stronger, quieter, heavier. The world begins to notice that pattern. They start trusting your silence more than they trust others' promises. That's influence. That's power that transcends noise. Here's the thing about systems: they run on predictability. They thrive when you react. When you get emotional, they know how to control you. But when you stay calm, they lose the script. You become unreadable, uncontrollable. That's when systems start adapting to you. They can't manipulate what they can't predict. So instead, they start orbiting around your steadiness. That's psychological dominance on a societal scale. It's how movements start. One man who refuses to react the way the world expects, and suddenly everyone rethinks their rules. You can see it in workplaces too. Everyone complains about chaos, deadlines, pressure. Then one man steps in and starts solving instead of shouting. He doesn't gossip, doesn't panic, doesn't flinch. Suddenly, people defer to him without realizing why. He's not just working a job, he's shaping the culture. That's the quiet power no resume can describe. The ability to bend a system without ever confronting it. To influence not by noise, but by example. Even in relationships, the same rule applies. When you stay grounded, you set the emotional temperature. You stop trying to win. You stop trying to be understood by everyone. You let your peace filter your circle. Those who can't match it leave. Those who can stay and rise. That's natural selection for energy. That's how men build tribes that last generations, not through control, but through alignment. Now let's talk about legacy. Legacy isn't what people say when you die. It's the invisible echo of your presence when you're gone. The systems you stabilized, the men you inspired without knowing, the family that moves through life calmer because you showed them how. That's mastery. Not noise, but imprint. Not fame, but frequency. When you've lived long enough in control of yourself, your energy leaves a trail. People feel safer when you're around. They act braver. They think clearer. That's legacy, the invisible shift your existence creates. But here's the paradox: to reach that level, you must let go of the desire to reach it. You can't chase mastery, you become it by repetition. By doing the right thing quietly for so long that it becomes your nature. You wake up disciplined because that's who you are now. You stay composed under fire because chaos has lost its novelty. You don't need to prove strength, it radiates through your calm. That's when the world starts bending around you. That's when destiny starts listening. Because fate doesn't serve noise, it serves clarity. In the end, mastery isn't about winning wars. It's about no longer needing them. It's when your peace becomes more intimidating than your anger. When your calm commands the respect that fear never could. The world was built by men like that. Men who could destroy but chose to create. Men who could shout but chose to whisper. Men whose silence wasn't absence but power under control. That's the level you aim for. Where your silence leads nations, your steadiness outlasts storms, and your presence rewrites the rules of every room you enter. That's mastery. That's legacy. That's the silent power that shapes the world. At some point, philosophy has to step off the page and walk with you. Because all the wisdom in the world means nothing if it doesn't change how you stand when life swings first. So this is where thought becomes muscle, where calm becomes instinct, and power becomes a way of breathing. This is where you become untouchable. Let's get one thing straight. Untouchable doesn't mean nothing can hurt you. It means nothing can own you. Not opinions, not failure, not fear, not praise. You move through it all the same way, with clarity, with composure, with purpose. That's what makes a calm man dangerous. Not that he avoids chaos, but that he walks through it untouched. Here's how it happens. Step 1. Build your mornings like fortresses. Your first hour decides your direction. Don't touch your phone. Dawn to let the world's noise crawl into your mind before you've met yourself. Sit in silence. Breathe. Stretch. Write. Move. Do something that reminds your body, I control the tone of my day. If you begin from stillness, the day has to adapt to you, not the other way around. Step 2. Limit your reactions. Every time you react, you hand someone a piece of your power. So stop answering every insult. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop chasing closure from those who never gave you peace. Your reaction is your currency. Spend it on things that pay you back growth, skill, purpose, legacy. Everything else, silence is cheaper and far more effective. Step 3. Create daily rituals of control. Small wins stack into mental dominance. Make your bed, track your training, eat with intention, plan your hours. Discipline and structure creates freedom in the mind. And when you can trust yourself to execute the small things, you stop seeking validation for the big ones. You become self-sufficient, and nothing scares systems more than a man who doesn't need them. Step 4. Refine your circle. Energy is contagious. Spend time with chaos and your calm dissolves. Spend time with peace and your fire focuses. Keep men around you who sharpen your mind instead of feeding your comfort. Keep women around you who respect your stillness instead of testing it. Cut the noise early. You can't build an empire with people addicted to drama. Step 5. Face discomfort daily. The body must know pain. The mind must know challenge. Because comfort breeds fear, and fear kills control. Lift weights, take cold showers, speak uncomfortable truths. Do something every day that reminds your nervous system, I can handle this. That's how you earn calm. Not by wishing for peace, but by proving to yourself that nothing can move you. Step 6. Master your response to disrespect. Disrespect is the favorite weapon of the weak. They throw it to see if they can pull you down to their level. Smile. Say less. Keep walking. Because every time you ignore a provocation, you train your ego to serve you instead of lead you. And here's the irony: the more you master that restraint, the more respect you attract. Because everyone feels the weight of a man who could explode but chooses not to. Step 7. Build silence into your schedule. Real men have reflection time. Even kings needed solitude. It's where perspective is sharpened. Take time to think without distraction. Ask yourself hard questions. What am I running from? What part of me still reacts like a child? What kind of legacy am I actually building? These moments of silence are where the surface breaks and truth surfaces. Without them, you become another noisemaker lost in the crowd. And when you start living like this consistently, intentionally, with stillness as your anchor, something strange begins to happen. People stop testing you. Opportunities start finding you. Time seems to slow around you. Because your energy stops leaking. You've become the calm in the storm, not the leaf in the wind. This is where calm dominance turns into something deeper: sovereignty. You no longer need to fight for peace. You are peace. You no longer need to demand respect. You embody it. You no longer fear loss. You've already learned how to rebuild. That's when the world stops touching you. Because how do you hurt a man who isn't ruled by fear? How do you control a man who needs nothing from you? How do you destroy a man who already died to his own weakness years ago? You can't. You never could. Every great man who ever built something lasting reached this stage. They didn't get here through luck. They got here through silence, through consistency, through restraint. They live by a rule most men never understand. If you can master your inner world, the outer one bends in time. So from this day forward, remember, you don't have to roar. You don't have to prove. You don't have to fight every fool that crosses your path. You just have to hold your center. Because the man who can stay calm when everything burns around him, that man already won. Be that man. Walk into chaos with steady breath. Build discipline until your silence has gravity. And let the world learn the calmest man in the room is still the most dangerous. Now you understand. Power was never in noise. It was in control. It was in the silence you've been running from your whole life. The calm man doesn't win every fight. He just decides which fights are worth existing. He doesn't chase validation. He moves like a man who already knows his worth. Because once you learn to master your emotions, once you learn to respond instead of react, you become untouchable. People start speaking softer around you. The room starts to slow down when you enter. The world feels heavier, but you move lighter. That's the reward for restraint. That's the consequence of control. And that's what they'll never understand about men like you. You could burn the whole world if you wanted to, but you'd rather build in silence. So remember this: when they provoke you, stay still. When they test you, smile. When they doubt you, let your results whisper back. Because the calmest man in the room isn't the one who avoids war. He's the one who is the war, quiet, patient, and unstoppable. Now go and become that man. And when they ask what changed you, just tell them you finally learned how to use your silence.